years ago, I worked at a natural food store. I started there within the year after graduating from my first college, and I was just trying to get a handle on working a regular job and paying for my own apartment by myself. Working in the store was all right, and became better as I was allowed to work in the grocery department, which gave me more freedom to move around the store and a wider variety of tasks to perform. Periodically during the day, I would circulate through the stockroom to check with our receiver and see if there was any new stock to be put away. At times, independent local vendors' representatives would drive up to the loading dock and bring in products that were ordered and needed checking in. For some reason, I crossed paths with one vendor rep from a local bakery, and anytime he was in the building, his attention would snap onto me. At first, I thought nothing of it. He was usually given pre-packaged samples of new products to hand out to the stores, and he would usually give me a couple, even though I had no authority to order things. I just thought, oh cool, free snacks, in case anyone has alarm bells going off because of getting food from a veritable stranger. This was a trusted vendor that had been with the store for years and years, and the baked goods samples were packaged where they were made, so they were the same safety and quality as if you had gone to the store and bought the full-sized products. I had no reason to be afraid, and so it continued off and on for a couple of months. Eventually, the guy starts asking me seemingly innocuous questions that were dispersed far enough apart that my naive brain didn't feel the need to be put on guard. He asked things like what kind of car I drove and did I like it. He would cover for his questions by adding extra explanations, such as that he was thinking of getting a used car and was asking around for information. I told him I didn't have a car, which was true. I lived within a few blocks of the store at the time. At that, the guy wrote his number and first name on a piece of paper, telling me I could call him if I ever needed a ride anywhere. I still didn't get it and thanked him politely, though I knew I'd never take him up on that. Anywhere I needed to go, I could get to on a combination of busing and walking. I was very independent, and I didn't like to feel like I was ever inconveniencing anyone. One day, I came into work as usual and went through the stockroom on the way to the time clock to punch in. The receiver rushed over and snatched me into a tight hug, telling me she was so glad I was okay. I thought she was being funny, so I asked her what for. She told me that the former vendor rep, who had seemed so enamored with me, had gotten a girl to get in his car with him. Then he drove to her apartment, subsequently attacked her, attempted to assault her, beat her bloody, then set her apartment on fire, fleeing the scene. Luckily, the woman he attacked was able to escape her burning apartment by climbing through a window. I became so much more wary of acquaintances after this incident. I feel really fortunate to have never put my trust in the guy and gone with him anywhere. You never know with some people. This happened nearly 20 years ago, but I will never forget it for the rest of my life. I went to college in a very small town in northwestern Maryland. Our school sat in the foothills of the Catoctin Mountains, and my friends and I would drive around the mountains smoking weed. We got very comfortable on the roads and knew them very well. This story takes place before we knew the roads, when we just got to school. Several of my girlfriends and I went out for a ride at night. The roads are winding and narrow. Some parts drop right off the side of the mountain. It was nighttime, so we were taking our time. We didn't see many cars when we would drive around, which was perfect. That night, however, as we pulled out of the parking lot, another car did as well. We didn't think much of it, as we thought it was another student. We entered the back roads, and the car is no longer behind us. As we go deeper into the mountains, a car comes up behind us. The car was very close to us, and we were getting freaked the fuck out. Mind you, we didn't know these roads yet, and they were backwoods roads, unpaved, and nowhere to turn around. I'm trying to drive as quickly as I can in order to get away from the car. All of us are freaking the fuck out and are convinced that this person is out here and is going to kill us. Finally, we see a chapel with a parking lot. We pull in, turn back to the road, and watch a red-haired man drive past us, slowly and staring at us. We book it down the mountain, park our car, and call public safety to tell them what happened. A day later, we get an email from campus security telling us to look out for a man with red hair, glasses, and a beard. He had been trying to get into the campus dorms and was following women around campus. So I was around 7 at the time, and it was summer 2011. I live in a pretty small village in France, where everyone knows each other and everyone trusts each other. My parents were working all afternoon, and before going to work, they would drop me and my little sister at our grandparents' house, which was a 20-minute walk from where I lived, and our cousin would also join so we could play, watch movies, etc. It was summer vacation, and as usual, I was with my cousin and my sister, which are both 3 years younger than me. We took our bikes and went out to ride around where my grandparents were living. There was a field very near where we would always go, and a large place in front of it that served as parking for those living nearby. So, the place wasn't isolated. We had an order to get back home at 8 p.m. from our grandma, because that's the time where our parents would come fetch us. While we were at that place, I remember there was a woman playing with her son in front of her house with a water gun and a red car parked in front of her house. I know this car wasn't a car from someone around because I knew that village very well, but I thought nothing of it. There was a guy sitting in the car during the whole time we were there with our bikes, and that was the only thing that I thought was weird. So, anyways, after we finished eating at around 7 p.m., we begged our grandma to go out to ride our bikes again, and after lots of hugs and negotiations, she accepted, but told us to be careful because it was getting dark and to not follow or accept anything from a stranger. So, we went out again, and we go back to where we had been all afternoon before, only my cousin, little sister, and me. I'm going to be honest here, but for some reason, I was so nervous that my stomach was hurting, and I was almost crying. I didn't know why at the time, and I thought I was afraid of vomiting because my stomach was hurting, so that's why I was nervous. When I was that age, vomit was my absolute phobia. Now that I'm older, I can only think that what I was actually feeling was anxiety. So, while my sister and cousin were talking and riding together, I was just sitting on my bike trying not to cry and watching them. We stood there a long time, and as usual, we didn't watch the hour. My grandma was used to us coming back late though, but we would get scolded every time. Then, the red car appeared again, except this time, there was now 3 guys in it. They all had lots of muscles and seemed to be in their 30s. They stopped by my little sister and cousin, and, being the older one, I quickly approached to see what they wanted. I was, and still am, a really shy person, so I didn't tell them to leave us alone, because at that point, something was just off and I wanted to leave. The red car stops, and the guy that was sitting behind the wheel gets out, all smiles and appearing innocent. He told us,
"Hey, I know where you live. We can drive you home."
With the voice of an adult talking to a baby. First big red flag. I politely tell him that no, we're fine, and that we were about to go back to our grandparents' house anyway. He became angry. Second big red flag. He told us that he knew our grandparents and that he was here to bring us back to them. At that point, I was thinking, why would he bring us back in his car while their house is literally like 5 minutes away? I asked him how he could bring us if we had the bikes, and besides, there was only 2 seats free in the car. He became even more angry. and told us to just get in the car. She'll go on my knees, showing my little sister that was very short. At that point, I don't really know. I'm both thinking that maybe it's true, and he's getting impatient because we were already late, and he maybe had something else to do after bringing us back. And at the same time, I just have the word run in my head. So luckily, this ends well, because it turns out we were late a lot, and our grandma had sent my grandpa to go get us. When he arrived, he asked the guy what they were doing, and they just answered that they were checking on how we were and left. I told my grandpa what had happened, and I can promise you, I've never seen him so enraged before. He called them all the insults in the world and called the police right when he got home. That's when 7-year-old me understood what the fuck had happened, and I was terrified of going out for so long. Now it's okay, but I'm still so anxious about being outside, even if I'm with someone. Sadly, I don't know what happened next. I don't know if those guys were ever found. I don't know if they tried kidnapping other kids. I don't know anything. So, to those 3 suspicious guys in the red car in France on a summer evening in July 2011, let's not meet ever again. Hi friends, I hope you're staying safe. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. It would really mean a lot to me. Thank you for listening. Sweet dreams.